Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of League Chat with the Stat, part 4 and the final part of the 4-part series of the 2021 season preview, covering the best 4 teams of 2020 in the Sydney Roosters, the Parramatta Eels, the Penrith Panthers, and the Melbourne Storm. Thank you so much for your support over the last few that I've done in season previews. I've received a lot of positive feedback and a bit of negative, but that's all right. That's part of the job. So really appreciate you guys' support through the good and the bad. Now, as I said, covering the 4 best teams of the 2020 season, and I've done a bit of a switcheroo. So you obviously noticed that as I'm going through it. But let's start off with the Sydney Roosters, why don't we? So the Sydney Roosters have signed Adam Kieran from the New Zealand Warriors on a 2-year deal, and they've signed the big teen sensation Joseph Suwali on a 2-year deal as well. They've lost Mitch Orbison, who has retired. Sonny Bill Williams, as you know, was obviously only signed for a few months, and I believe he's moving into a career in boxing. Kyle Flanagan has signed with the Bulldogs on a 3-year deal. Christian Tuipulotu has signed with the Seagulls on a 4-year deal. Ryan Hall is heading back to the Super League on a 2-year deal, and Pawasa Famawasili, heading to the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, a lot of questions here for the Roosters. Just a couple of questions here that have been sent through to me just to answer for you guys. So the Sydney Roosters have a bit of a halves conundrum. Who will be their starting halves? Now, you obviously got Luke Keary as their main half, moving into the number 7 jersey. So who will cover number 6? Would it be the new signing Adam Kieran? Would it be Drew Hutchinson? Would it be Lachlan Lamb? Will it be Sam Walker? This 18-year-old kid that's been talked up so much. Now, from all reports I'm hearing, it'll be Lachlan Lamb starting up in the jersey number 6. He's been in the Rooster system for a little while now. And he could have gone to any other club and have gotten some guaranteed game time, but he's decided to ply his trade with the Roosters. So he'll get first crack at the number 6 jersey to partner Luke Keary in the halves for round 1. Now, I believe he'll play really well. I believe his father, Adrian, was a great player in the league as well. And now he's currently coaching the Wigan Warriors in the Super League. And Lachlan Lamb has been pretty decent. Last year, Kyle Flanagan was dropped for a few games for the Roosters. And Lachlan Lamb came in and stepped up for the 2-3 games he played and played pretty well. Obviously, getting injured didn't do him much good, but he's had a full preseason in the halves and has a big understanding of what he needs to do. And he's got Cooper Cronk there to kind of show him the ropes and help them win a comp there as well. So, his influence on Lachlan Lamb is going to be huge. So it'll be him starting round 1. And the halves, Drew Hutchinson, Sam Walker and Adam Kieran will apply their trade in New South Wales Cup for the time being, unless Adam Kieran can potentially score himself a utility role, which I'll answer that a little later. Now, you've got Joseph Suwali, the guy that's come over from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, signing a 2-year deal with the Sydney Roosters. Is he really worth all the hype? I've watched him play a few of his games. I saw him play in the trial for the Bears against the Raiders. And he's a star of the future for sure. He's worth all the hype. Putting him in a structure like the Sydney Roosters, it's guaranteed success. You've seen the standards that they've been through, the last 20-odd years. The Roosters do not settle for anything less than the best. And they've got the perfect system around for Joseph Suwali to really develop as a player. Yes, he is a fullback, but I believe he will apply his trade on the wing. With obviously you got the best fullback in the whole world, James Tedesco there. So Suwali is worth all the hype. I've seen him play in the lower grades. I saw him play 2 weeks ago, and he definitely has got what it takes, to lead, the Sydney Roosters over in the backs and to really put his best foot forward. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Roosters will use him, and seeing if he'll get a lot of game time this year. They've got the Morris twins there. They've still got Daniel Tupou. They've got Joseph Manu. They've got these players there that they've settled on in their back 5 with Tedesco at the back. So Suwali will apply his trade in New South Wales Cup for a little bit, obviously not being 18 years old, although then it will look set to approve it, which we'll obviously discuss in our round 1 preview. So it's going to be a very intriguing situation with how the whole thing plays out. But look, I'm sure once he turns 18, it'll be around August, so they may chuck him in for a few games, pending how he goes in New South Wales Cup. But I'm sure once he gets into the top grade, he'll be mighty fine, and he'll definitely be a valuable asset to the Roosters, even though he's only still very young. And another question that's been asked for Adam Kieran. Now, signed over from the Warriors on a 2-year deal. Played a bit of utility there. So played a bit on the halves. Finished the year in the centres where he scored a hat-trick in one of those, in the last game or the second last game there. So Adam Kieran could be a Mr. Fix-It type of player. I believe they want to kind of use him similar to the role that Mitch Orbison had at the club. Now, Mitch Robertson is a huge loss for the Roosters. Not only could he cover any position, but he covered it really well. They got moved to the centers, covered it really well. He was in the back row playing there originally, covered it really well. So if you get what I'm saying, he was perfect. And every time he played in those positions, out of position, had time in the wing, he'd do a great job. So that's, I believe, the role that Adam Kieran will be playing at the Roosters. I don't see him settling into the halves. They've got 4 or 5 halves there already that they want to build their future around. So Adam Kieran won't be one of those halves. But Adam Kieran will play a big role in being the next big utility. They'll get him covering anywhere in the backs, the halves. They have to put him on hooker. He'll play a bit of hooker if he needs to. So I'm looking to see whether Adam Kieran, will get game time, and if he does get game time, where he'll get the game time. So those are some of the questions being asked about the Sydney Roosters and whether they can go all the way this year. Now, it's really a big question mark over the halves. I think that's my biggest question mark. Yes, they are guaranteed success. Yes, they'll finish in the top 4, but I just don't know whether they'll have the right halves pairing to take them through to the grand final. So, look, we'll just see what happens with that. Cooper Cronk, as I said, is there to obviously put his influence through and to obviously do his part to help these guys win a competition. So, especially focusing on the halves and the game plan and watching video and all that. So, I'm looking forward just to see exactly how the halves will go, especially with their dominant forward pack. And the last question I received, which I forgot to mention, about Boyd Cordner missing for 12 weeks. Sitili Tupouniua will fill in one side of the field. Another side will go to Angus Crichton. And he will be a bit of a loss there, Boyd Cordner. We all understand how influential he is for any team he plays for, especially for the Roosters. But his health does come first. And Angus Crichton is an 80-minute player anyway. So, he's a big boy, can play the position really well. And Sitili Tupouniua as well found his form and keeps getting better year by year. So I'm expecting a great year from Sitili Tupouniua. But look, they've got the depth and the right players to cover Boyd Cordner, which is obviously the most exciting part. Now, moving over to the Parramatta Eels. A lot of their signings that they've made, the Parra Eels, are all depth signings, bar one. So they've signed Tom Opicic from the Cowboys. They've signed Bryce Cartwright and Keegan Hipgrave from the Gold Coast Titans, Nathaniel Roach and Isaiah Papali'i from the Warriors, Malcolm Oldfield from the Raiders, and Joey Lussick from the Salford Red Devils. Now, as I said, they're all depth signings, barring Tom Opicic, who will be filling in the number 3 jersey and replacing Michael Jennings, who's obviously on that Asada ban. They have lost Andrew Davey to the Sea Eagles, Stefano Utoikamanu to the Tigers, George Jennings to the Storm, Daniel Alvaro to the Dragons, Kane Evans to the Warriors, David Gower has announced his retirement. They lost their livewire Jai Field to the Wigan Warriors in the Super League. Brad Takairangi went to Hull FC in the Super League as well. Jamin Salmon went to the Panthers on a 1-year deal. Reece Davies was released, and Penny Terepa, as you guys know, has announced his retirement towards the beginning of last year. Now, got a question that was sent over to me. How big is the loss of Michael Jennings? I think it's a huge loss. Last year was one of the best I've seen him play in the last couple of years. He was so good for them last year. And he's very experienced, 299 first-grade games for in the NRL. Has played a handful for Penrith, for Roosters, and now for Parramatta. But with this Asada Ben hovering over his head, the likeliness of him coming back is pretty slim. So signing Tom Opicic, he's got some big shoes to fill. So they have lost big time in Jennings, but they'll have Tom Opicic, who has had a bit of experience, being in the Broncos system and then in the Cowboys. And that's where I'm kind of concerned. My concern here is that Tom Opicic has gone from club to club. This is his 3rd club in 5 years. So I'm just concerned that, he may be overlooked in, 5-6 games in and, maybe get sent to another club. I'm scared that he'll be more of a journeyman. So that's where I'm kind of concerned for the Parramatta Eels. They've got, Hayes Dunstar waiting in the wings, who debuted last year in the finals. Given the occasion, I thought he handled it really well. So they've got some kids in the system that they need to look to. They've obviously got Will Penasini, who they've just upgraded to a top 30 contract. So look, things like that, I'm looking forward to seeing how their juniors will go. But Tom Opicic will really need to cement his position and need to do really well. He's covering the shoes of Michael Jennings, who, as I said, has been dominant. And he's got some big responsibility there to play out that role well and to partner Mike Acevo and to make sure that communication is strong down that left edge for the Parramatta Eels. Now, as I said, the Parramatta have made a lot of depth signings. Do they have what it takes to win the comp? No, I don't think they do. And I'll tell you exactly why. We talk about, their spine. You've got Clint Gutherson, you've got Dylan Brown, you've got Mitch Moses, and then you've got Reid Marnie. Reid Marnie, decent hooker. Give it to him. Like what they've done in signing Joey Lussick from Salford to give him that bit of depth in for the hooker, which is very good. But my question mark is Mitchell Moses. Mitchell Moses, when Parramatta are on, they're on. They can play some great football. But when Parramatta are on, Mitchell Moses is on. But when Parramatta are off, Mitch Moses goes missing. And it's very clear. And we saw it so many times last year where Mitch Moses needed to step up and couldn't because the whole team morale was down. When the team were down, Mitch Moses was down. And as long as that continues to happen, I don't see Parramatta winning a comp. Now, I know they've got Andrew Johns there to kind of help with game management and that, but I just don't think they have what it takes to win the comp. Now, they've got another question that got put through here is that can they perform at the same level as Rabbitohs, Roosters and Storm? Yes, they can perform at those levels at some stages, but they can't perform there consistently, and that is their biggest issue. They've got like a decently young spine, they've got some good players there, but they all need a lift, but they need a lift consistently. Moses can't be playing one good game every 3 games. He must be playing very good every single week. If he's played well and they've lost, okay, you can't straight away go back and blame Mitch Moses or blame Dylan Brown. But if they're lacking creativity and they get a big scoreline put on them, yeah, you question their defense, but you also question what Parramatta tried to do to get back in the game. So they need to be clicking at all times for Mitch Moses to fire. And that's pretty bad. So if Mitch Moses gets his game together and performs every single week, Parramatta will, 1, not have a better chance of winning, but 2, have a better chance of putting consistent performances together and then being a big threat to those of, the Rabbitohs, the Storm, the Roosters, the Raiders, the Panthers, etc. So that's where their problems are at the moment. I like some of the depth signings they've made. As I said, Joey Lussick could be a good fit for Reid Marnie. I think they've still got Will Smith who can add that utility value as well. James Salmon going over to the Penrith Panthers. Bryce Cartwright on a 1-year deal is good. Obviously he's missing the first 6 weeks of the broken jaw, but I'm sure that he can just play his trade in South Wales Cup and then make some sort of impact whenever Brad Arthur feels fit. So the last question I've been asked about the Parramatta Eels is the future of Brad Arthur. Will he be at Parramatta next year? I'm telling you guys right now, there is a 90% chance that he won't. I truly believe he won't be there at all, and I can tell you exactly why. Brad Arthur, yes, he obviously went through a couple of wooden spoons with the club and then brought him back to, where they are now, and they're a lot better than where they were when they were 16th. But the problem I have here is this. Brad Arthur does not have what it takes to take it to the next level. And I think because of that, and because of the players he's got on the side who are very inconsistent, I don't think he's the man to lead Parramatta Eels into winning the competition. In fact, what I believe needs to happen is if Parramatta make the grand final, they'll keep Brad Arthur. If Parramatta do not make the grand final, and I don't think they will, I don't even think they'll make the top 4, if I'm being quite honest, then Brad Arthur will be moved on at the end of the year, regardless of the fact that he signed a 2-year contract extension, because let's be real, contracts mean absolutely garbage these days. So I truly believe that this is Brad Arthur's last year, and he needs to get everything right. They have the team. They're in that premiership window, the Parramatta Eels, to win a competition. They must do it. If they can't do it now, then they're going to... All those players that they've got, Ryan Madison and Sean Lane and Nathan Brown and Junior Paulo and, all these big players that they've got will eventually leave, and the club will suffer, and they'll start sitting back in the bottom 4, bottom 6, even bottom 8 for a little while before they build their team up again under the right coaching staff to potentially take them to winning the competition. So, look, they have the team to do it. They have the right players there. They've got the depth, but Brad Arthur isn't a coach that can take them to the next level, which is why I don't believe Parramatta will be in the grand final and won't win a premiership under Brad Arthur, and that's why I believe there will be a new coach for the Parramatta Eels next year. Early tip is Shane Flanagan. I wouldn't even be surprised if John Morris, if he gets overlooked at the Cronulla Sharks, will even get potentially put through. But as I said, that'll be something for when the time comes. So that'll be my take on Parramatta for season 2021. They're a team that can entertain during the season, but can't do anything in the finals. And they've bowed out twice in the last 2 years in straight sets, using some tennis phrases. So that's where they're going to be the biggest struggle. And even with the depth signings, I still don't think, they'll make much of a difference in the competition. Now, this is where I've done a bit of a swap. So, obviously, Melbourne Storm finished second and Penrith finished first in the 2020 NRL season. But as I say, you got to leave the champions to be spoken about last. So, we're going to go with the Penrith Panthers first, cover them, and then we're going to go over to the Melbourne Storm. And as you say, you leave the best to last. So the Penrith Panthers have signed Paul Momirovski from the Tigers, Jamin Salmon from the Parramatta Eels, Robert Jennings and Matt Eisenhuth from the West Tigers, and Scott Sorensen from the Sharks. All depth signings. There isn't a player there that would be a straight walk into the side, barring obviously any off-field issues. They've had quite a few losses from the team that made the grand final. Josh Mansell, as I mentioned, has gone to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. James Tamo to the Tigers. Zane Tadavano to Leeds Rhinos. Jack Hetherington's gone to deal with the Bulldogs. Dane Laurie signed to deal with the Tigers not long ago. Dean Fare's gone to Catalans Dragons in the Super League. Caleb Aikens has signed to deal with the Raiders. Malachi Watene-Zelezniak obviously retired. I believe that was discussed under the Tigers wrap. Pat Hollis, Braden McGrady, and Dean Bloor were all released from their contracts as well. So they fell one game short in 2020. They went and performed phenomenal to get to winning 17 games straight. Can they go all the way in 2021? I don't think they can. And I'll put it to simply one man. Two men, actually, but one man, Trent Barrett. Now, as I've spoken in the Bulldogs wrap-up in the first of the 4 past years I've done, Trent Barrett had a major influence in how Penrith attacked. Yeah, they looked pretty slick in their trial against Power. They've still got those players there and there's combinations that they would continue to use. But I think in changing up their ideas a little bit and having Trent Barrett not there doesn't help them a lot. Ivan Cleary, this is the second grand final that Ivan Cleary's been in, obviously being one at the Warriors and now being one at the Panthers, and has not been able to take them to that next step of winning that grand final. He's got them to the grand final, but he hasn't taken both of those sides to win the grand final. So I think losing Trent Barrett is a big loss to the Bulldogs. Now, this doesn't mean that Trent Barrett will go right up a brand new attack and the Bulldogs will come first for the next 5 years. No. But he'll obviously influence how they attack. But he's influenced so much in the Panthers and how they've gone in their attack that, it's pretty clear that they may struggle with bits and pieces at times in the season because, look, I don't think they'll go and win 17 games in a row again. Yeah, they'll get into a bit of a streak, but I think once they get into a bit of a rough patch and try to change up their attack, I believe that a lot of the influence will be lost because Trent Barrett isn't there to be focusing on their attack. So I think that's where they're kind of, going to be lacking a little bit, and that's probably one of my big concerns for the Penrith Panthers. Now, Charlie Staines will be starting the year on the left wing, taking the spot of Josh Mansell. Now, they have big raps on the kid, obviously playing 100 minutes of football in total and scoring 6 tries. Listen, it's not a bad stat, I'll give you that. But can he be a dominant winger and can he be similar to what Josh Mansell was? I think he'll be a different player to Josh Mansell. Josh Mansell was basically a prop on the wing. Taking those hard carries, making 10, 15, even 20 meters per hit up, which is why he was so influential for the Penrith Panthers last year. And he plays a similar role, Josh Mansell, to David Norfoluma, and taking those big carries and making your 150 to 200 meters a game and making a lot of tackle busts. I don't believe Charlie Staines will be that type of player, but I do believe that he'll be able to, break the line at certain stages and just be able to do enough and do what he can to just polish off those finishes. He won't be a meter eater for the Penrith Panthers, but he'll obviously be one that will look to, keep himself available and make a lot of line breaks and make a few busts here and there, but I am expecting him to be scoring a lot of tries. Now, they've also signed a journeyman in Paul Momirovski from the West Tigers. Now, he's been around a few clubs at the moment and under a few different systems, obviously being at the Roosters, the Tigers, the Storm, and now at the Penrith Panthers. Can he cement himself in the centres at the Penrith Panthers? Look, he's got the perfect opportunity to. Brent Naden will be starting the New South Wales Cup as a punishment on top of, the cocaine incident. Obviously using cocaine towards the end of the season last year in the grand final for the Penrith Panthers. So Paul Momirovski will be able to get an opportunity to play the first 4 weeks in the centres. And he'll really need to cement himself. I do think he's got what he takes. I've seen glimpses of him performing really well for the all clubs he's played, for the Roosters, for the Tigers, even at Storm when he was there for a little bit, was playing really well. And he's been under some phenomenal coaching structures. He's been with the 2 best clubs in the Roosters and the Storm. So bringing that experience to the Panthers can be really influential for him. And I am excited to see how he'll go and we'll be watching him with quite a bit of intent and with a lot of excitement for Paul Momirovski to be able to cement himself in the centres and to play a big role and to help the Penrith Panthers try achieve, just that extra one this year, and obviously going all the way to try and win the competition. But yeah, Paul Momirovski does have the opportunity to do it. I think he can do it. I think he's beyond qualified to do it, and he won't have any excuses if he can't. He's been under the best systems in the game, and this is his time where he needs to cement himself and be a long-term centre for the Penrith Panthers. But the biggest question I have received from a lot of you guys is about, the future of Matt Burton. Matt Burton has been in a tug-of-war between Penrith and Bulldogs. Now, he signed a deal with the Bulldogs from 2022 on a 3-year deal, but Bulldogs have been trying to get him day in, day out for the 2021. Now, with Matt Burton, Penrith are saying, no, he's part of our plans and we want him in, but where exactly is he going to play? In the beginning, he was training in the centres. Then he said, we're not going to use him in the back row. Matt Burton is an out-and-out 5'8". He does have the ability to, should he need to go into the second row, but that's not something I see him playing his trade at. Now, Matt Burton has to be at number 6. Obviously, with Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary there, it's not going to happen, but Penrith are playing hardball with the Bulldogs and aren't releasing him and making sure that he's part of their plans. So where will Matt Burton play? They have to... Look, it's either between him and Tyrone May for the utility role. They can't have both. Because Tyrone May will be able to cover a few more positions than Matt Burton. And I think Penrith are just taking the mickey out of Matt Burton and keeping him there just so that they don't have him terrorise them when he goes to the Bulldogs a year early. So, look, for Matt Burton, it's either utility or New South Wales Cup. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't see it any other way. I just think that with how Matt Burton, in the position that he's in at the moment, there isn't really much of an opportunity for him to grow his game at 5'8" because of Jerome Luai being, so influential for the Panthers and Nathan Cleary being their halfback. So Matt Burton's going to have to play straight New South Wales Cup until he absolutely demands a release and Penrith decide to finally give in. But look, it's either utility or New South Wales Cup, and it'll be between him and Tyrone May for that utility role, which I think will go to Tyrone May, given his experience and the amount of game time he's played as well. So, yeah, utility or New South Wales Cup for Matt Burton. And last but not least, of the clubs that we'll be discussing in the 4-part series is the Melbourne Storm. And this one I'm going to really enjoy covering for you guys. There's a lot of changes at the Storm, especially because of the comp last year and how they did it. They've signed Raymond Smith from the Bulldogs, George Jennings from the Eels, Dean Iramea has been upgraded from a development contract, and they'll get Harry Grant back, which is a huge asset to the side, basically coming back on loan from the Tigers. They've lost Tino Fa'asuamaleaui to the Gold Coast Titans. Suliasi Vunivalu has gone to rugby union, playing straight at the Queensland Reds. Paul Momirovski, as you know, to the Panthers. Ricky Nutelli to Huddersfield Giants. Albert Verde has gone to the Giants, I believe. Sandor Earl has retired, and Cameron Smith was obviously, his contract is up and he's still kind of up in the air as to what he's going to do, whether he would play on or where he won't play on. So this will be the first season in as long as I can remember that the big three of Billy Smith, Cooper Cronk, and Cameron Smith are not part of this Melbourne Storm side. Just when we thought Billy Slater had retired and he was gone, the argument Melbourne are finished, and Ryan Pappenhausen came in and has torn that up. When Cooper Cronk retired, we all said, yep, no, they're absolutely done. It's their halfback. Who they're going to put in there. And Melbourne Storm brought in Cam Munster and have trained Jerome Hughes from fullback to the halves and has been flawless. Now people are saying that with Cameron Smith gone, that Melbourne Storm are done and dusted. I couldn't disagree more. Yes, the influence that Cameron Smith has is second to none. Just the way he can read the play from when he's at hooker, knowing what's going to happen, where to hit the ball, where to get him in defense. He's so influential. He's played 430 odd games, and he's probably the best player of all time. But to sit here and say that the Storm won't make the finals and they're completely done could not be further from the truth. And I'll explain exactly why. Look at who they're replacing him with. Harry Grant, he's only played 1 year, but he was fantastic for the Tigers in the 1 year that he played. They've even got Brandon Smith as cover, who's a New Zealand international hooker. Harry Grant will be the next hooker for Queensland over the next 10 years. When Frank Manisi came out and said, we have success built within our walls, you see that. Ryan Pappenhausen, Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant, Brendan Smith. I'm now just talking spine players here that just because that no members of the big three are there, they will still finish in the top 4 and they will still contend for a premiership just because of their coaching structure, just because of how the players have been playing over the last few years, and just exactly the influence that these former players that come in, obviously with Cooper Cronk coming in with the Storm, one day a week with Billy Slater there to help out with anything he can, and Ryan Hoffman, and you've got players like that who have been around the club and know what success is all about, especially at the Melbourne Storm. The big three moving on, obviously it needed to happen at some stage, but these next kids coming through the ranks are just flawless. And again, another year under Craig Bellamy, they have the biggest opportunity to go back-to-back. And as I said, I see them finish in the top 4. I don't know if they'll win the comp, but that's not for me to say that they won't be there at the end. Like you would have seen in my last preview, I predicted that it would be a Rabbitohs-Raiders grand final, probably the two most underrated teams, heading into a final series, I believe. But you got to look at the Storm. Don't discount them, guys. They're still a gun club. They're still a team that have the potential to obviously tear it up with the players that they have. They've still got a decent back line. They've still got a great forward pack. And they've still got so many stars up and coming that they'll be able to use and utilize for success over the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 years. So don't count them out. Melbourne Storm will be there at the end. Towards the end of the season, I reckon they may hit the prelim, and it wouldn't even surprise me if they go to the grand final. Can they go back-to-back and send Bellamy out a winner in his last year as their head coach? I can't see why they can't. And I think it'll be, because it's his last year coaching, as it is Bennett at his respective club at the Rabbitohs, this would be one of the juiciest years we've seen in some time. So, guys, I can't wait. I've just sat here, I've just previewed all the teams, and I'm so excited for round 1 to start. So that'll be coming up shortly, and I'm really keen for that. Thank you so much for joining me for the 2021 season previews from part 1, 2, 3, and 4. I really appreciate your support. Really appreciate your feedback as well, and things we can improve on the podcast and things that you'd like to see. You guys know that we're all over social media, we're all over the podcasting streams. And we've got our super coach and tipping comps happening at the moment with the codes in the descriptions as well. So remember to sign up. Only less than 7 days to get that organized. So really excited. I can't wipe the smile off my face. I'm so keen. And to those that are listening abroad, tune in to League Chat with the Stat. Try to get into as many games as you can. And really excited to obviously have you guys be a part of the journey with me. And as we go into a full season in 2021, I just can't wait. So many of the stories, so many players, just seeing how each team's going to go has me on the edge of my seat, and I'm really, really excited for Thursday coming up. Now, guys, again, thank you for joining me. Get ready, guys. We're going to have our round 1 preview coming out shortly, which I'm really excited for, and that will be the big kickstart to season 2021. Have a good one, guys. You guys will see me shortly in covering the round 1 preview. Take care.